Most men think they would know if their marriage was in real trouble. They assume there would be a big fight or a very clear argument that becomes the dramatic moment where everything breaks open. But that's not how it usually happens. What actually happens is much quieter and far more dangerous. She starts pulling away and you notice it in small ways. It isn't her storming out immediately or threatening divorce, but she just becomes harder to reach overall. The way she answers questions and the way affection feels from her is much, much thinner. When you ask what's wrong, you will get answers like, I'm just tired or I'm fine. Guys, if your woman says she is fine, she is not fine. And the part that messes with men the most is that you have no idea what's changed. You can feel something is wrong, but you don't know what lever to pull. Things seemed okay and at least manageable as you're navigating through life together. So when she starts withdrawing, it feels confusing and even unfair. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand why pulling away is not a conscious decision by your wife, why so many men misread these subtle moments when she starts to pull away, and how you can tailor your response in a proper way that helps bring her back to you rather than push her further away. And if you appreciate me making content like this, go ahead and tap the like button because it genuinely helps. So I want to say this first and foremost. If you're going through this right now, your situation is not unique, and you're also not crazy for feeling her pull away while you're in a state of confusion and frustration. If you are feeling her pull away, you're not imagining it. This isn't paranoia on your part, and often isn't insecurity, although combinations of insecurity and paranoia that you have are not going to help your situation at all, so you have to get those under control. To be honest, most men are very good at sensing emotional shifts. I mean, if you've been with this person for a long time and married for even longer, you truly know what her normal mannerisms are and the way she often behaves in certain situations. So that's why I say you're not crazy for sensing a shift in her emotional state or the way she's presenting herself to you. The problem is, as good as men are at sensing these things, most are absolutely terrible at interpreting what they mean. And I include myself in that category for a long portion of my life when I experienced this so many times and completely misinterpreted everything that went on in my love life, and I paid for it. So I don't want you to feel guilty either. But when a woman pulls away, men misread the moment so drastically that it becomes such a dangerous phase for marriages and long-term relationships. She doesn't flat out say, hey, I'm starting to emotionally detach, because she starts to feel it long before she can actually verbally explain it to you. So when you start to sense this distance as a man, your first instinct is to jump in and close that gap by any means possible. The assumption you make is that, and look, we are all human, so these things happen when so much is going on in our lives, so it can get very confusing and come at you at a really quick pace. But the assumption that we make is that she's becoming more distant because you haven't been showing up in the relationship with proper effort or have not been communicating with her well at all. That assumption puts you on the wrong path immediately. Women don't pull away because men stop trying, although that can be an accelerant once she is in that stage of disconnection. She will pull away mainly because of how trying actually feels to her. Specifically, she begins to feel emotionally responsible for your state. Like she has to constantly reassure you and that her emotions are being managed by you instead of led by you. So what it boils down to is that the emotional polarity in the relationship has shifted to a place where it's completely out of whack. If she doesn't feel that emotional safety and steadiness in you, she's going to inherently start to create that distance from you. And there is no set timeline. Every woman who experiences this is different, but ultimately, if that polarity has deteriorated in your relationship and it's not restored, at some point she's going to start to tap out emotionally. So you might be thinking, if she gets to this point where she's tapping out emotionally, is it a lost cause, and is there any way I can actually save it? Well, every marriage that declines has a quiet but very pivotal turning point. Unfortunately for a lot of men, when that pivotal point rears its head, they start reacting to her emotional temperature instead of holding their own. So you may start to mirror her anxiety or frustrations, or begin to manage her feelings and get her to see that it's okay to get things back to they were as soon as possible. And I'm not saying you are doing this in a negative way. In fact, for the most part, your intentions are probably good and you are showing up with that effort and trying really, really hard. So none of this looks bad on the surface. It can also feel like that you are the only one who is trying because you're not getting the response you thought you would get from her now that you've had this increased effort on your end. The reason for that is, and I don't want to say it's too little too late, because it's not. Effort in your relationships is incredibly important to sustain them for the long term, but it is more than just the effort. It's actually the timing of the effort and what you're doing is completely off, because when she's already on that disconnecting path, the effort and the extra intensity from that just comes off as pressure to her, and she's thinking, oh, now he shows up, and that's what she's experiencing on her end. Unfortunately, this becomes an extremely unproductive path for you. If you spend your time putting in that effort trying to talk to her or explain things more, trying to seek reassurance or force that spark back in her, it's going to be counterproductive at this point. So I talked about her feeling your well-intentioned effort as pressure or even performatory because she knows that you want to fix things. And this is where most advice you get when we're going through something like this from friends or family, and quite honestly, some counseling as well. This is where they get it wrong. You will get the advice to just communicate better or be vulnerable and tell her how much you care and need her. You know the advice, talk to her. Have you talked to her yet? Just talk to her. I'm sure she just needs to hear how much you love her. Just tell her. But what well-meaning advice givers don't understand is that this is emotional pressure. Communication is great. Showing her some vulnerability in the relationship is great. And I have a video on the channel on how to show vulnerability as a masculine leader in the relationship. But the problem is when she's disconnecting, the timing of this vulnerability and the way you're presenting it is completely off. True emotional leadership means that you have to remain steady when she is distant. It does not mean that you go silent, but you have to be centered as a man. She will instantly notice the difference between that and responding in a needy way for assurances. So here's how you have to reframe what is going on to completely change your perspective. And only then can you adjust your actions and start doing the right things to get everything back on track. Her pulling away is not a signal to pursue harder. It's a signal that your emotional steadiness matters more now than any words will. You have to reverse this dynamic by becoming stable where she is uncertain. And I know how difficult that sounds when this is such a huge piece of your life and you have anxiety over losing her or your family and everything you've built. But if you give into the conventional advice or your initial instincts to try and speed her up into fixing everything, it's going to give you a very unwanted result. You can't act like you need an immediate resolution. You need to slow everything down and build a calm, steady leadership presence to attract her back. If this phase goes misunderstood, it will almost always escalate. First, it's the distance you notice when she starts to pull away, and that can quickly turn into a deeper emotional shutdown on her end. It is at that point when you will start to hear the calls for needing space, straight up telling you that she's unhappy and that she doesn't know how to feel anymore. And again, if that continues to go unchecked, eventually divorce will enter the conversation because the emotional dynamic was never corrected on your end. This is why this stage matters so much. So if she's pulling away and this video has opened your eyes to why, you should know now that it doesn't mean it's over, but it does mean what you do next matters more than what you say. If this is resonating and you're realizing this is bigger than just one conversation, I put together a free training that walks you through how to stabilize the emotional dynamic and stop things from sliding even further. It's not motivation or quick fixes. It's the exact framework I teach men who are trying to save their marriage before it reaches that point of no return. You can find it linked below in the description if you want to go deeper. The next thing men usually get wrong is how they respond if she does ask for space, and that is what I cover in this video right here.